In the late 90s, a game arrived that redefined storytelling in video games, Final Fantasy VII. On the surface, it was a fantasy adventure with impressive graphics, but under its many layers, the game is a meditation on crisis of identity and the tragic weight of destiny on one's shoulders. In the game, we are introduced to a new world, Gaia, a world of towering cities and sprawling landscapes. A place that begs questions like who are we, what is our purpose, and what do we leave behind in the end? Final Fantasy VII was developed by Square, led by visionary creators like Hironobu Sakaguchi and Tetsuya Nomura. Here, Square was taking a significant risk to develop a game for the PlayStation, as they were developing games mainly for Nintendo before. But from making pre-rendered backgrounds so that the PlayStation can run the game, to fully 3D character models and full motion video cutscenes, and on top of them, Nobuo Uematsu's unforgettable music, the game quickly became a huge success. A living, breathing world, one that players didn't just want to play in it, but to immerse themselves and fully experience it. The story follows Cloud Strife, a mercenary who joins the eco-terrorist group Avalanche to fight Shinra, a company that is draining the planet's life energy for profit. But the deeper the story goes, the more we are presented with questions like who are we, and what are we willing to sacrifice to protect what we love. The story of Cloud is deeply tragic. As a boy growing up in the city of Nibelheim, he dreamt of becoming a soldier, which is Shinra's powerful military arm. He also idolized Sephiroth, Soldier's most famous and strongest member. But that dream stayed as just that, a dream. When he grew up, he never succeeded in becoming a soldier member. During a training mission, he is exposed to Mako energy, which along with the Genova cells and the trauma of the Nibelheim incident immensely affected him and fractured his mind. He absorbed the memories of his friend Zack, creating a false identity in his head. That is why for years he believed he actually was a soldier member and a hero, a lie that shaped his choices, his guilt, and his self-worth. Cloud's tragedy lies in this false self, a man carrying borrowed memories, struggling to reconcile who he thinks he is with who he really is. His journey is about confronting his internal demons, reclaiming his true self, and learning that identity is not defined just by titles, but more so by your actions. We live our lives guided by our beliefs, how we interact with the world, how we form our relations, how we succeed at our job. What we believe in shapes our reality, and the stronger those beliefs, the more rooted we are in the world we perceive. But what happens when the very core of those beliefs are in actuality in contrast with your perceived reality? And what happens when you uncover such harsh truth? Do your beliefs lose meaning? Does your sense of reality crumble? How would you feel then? Maybe you'll be sad, or will you be angry, feeling betrayed, even seeking retribution? And even if you take such action, will you be just in doing so? In your eyes, who even is qualified to determine what is just and what isn't in that moment, other than yourself? That is where the story of Sephiroth resonates with the fans the most. His story is in fact a mirror of Cloud's, but twisted by hubris. Born from the Genova project, Sephiroth was enhanced and raised as Shinra's ultimate soldier. He was loved and admired by everyone until he learned the truth of his origins. Believing himself the child of the planet and not human, Sephiroth descended into madness. He burned Nibelheim, slaughtered innocent people, and set in motion a plan to summon Meteor and become a god. The tragedy of Sephiroth is his alienation and obsession with power. Unlike Cloud, he embraces his false identity fully, seeing himself above morality and the human world. His brilliance and charisma make him dangerous, but in the end, it is hubris that ensures his path leading to destruction. In this story, Sephiroth represents what happens when one's potential is corrupted by obsession and isolation. The characters of Cloud and Sephiroth are both bounded by tragedy, memory, and destiny. One lost in false memories, the other lost in delusions of godhood. Their conflict isn't just physical, it is existential. Cloud must confront Sephiroth in order to reclaim his true self. Sephiroth and his daring ambition force Cloud to question his own morality and identity, as he feels the seemingly unbearable weight of making an impossible choice. Their story is a study in parallel tragedies. One learns, grows, and reconciles, while the other spirals, consumed by obsession and fueled by vanity. Throughout the game, we are able to experience a variety of emotions in different stages, but I'm sure everyone would agree that no moment demonstrates the game's emotional depth more than the death of Aerith. In the game, she represents hope, compassion, and the fragility of life as a whole. To this day, her death is still one of the most shocking moments in gaming history, as it forces players to sense impermanence, feel grief, and understand the true meaning of sacrifice. When you hear the word partnership or friendship, what does it remind you of? A relationship between two people? A marriage? What about Olympics, where, for example, two runners partner up as a team to compete in a race? The reason behind every partnership or friendship, regardless of their form, comes down to one thing and one thing only: a desire for success. One of the aspects that I particularly like about Final Fantasy VII is how the game portrays friendship. In the story, Cloud doesn't succeed alone. From Tifa's ever-present support to Barrett's conviction and guidance, and compassion from Aerith, all these bonds shape his character and push him forward every step of the way. Aristotle describes friendship as a partnership of virtue, helping individuals become better. In this game, party synergy reflects moral and emotional interdependence, as trust and collaboration are necessary for victory. As we see on the other side, one of the main reasons for Sephiroth to go on a path of madness and destruction is isolation, which ultimately leads to his demise in the end. Final Fantasy VII set a new standard for narrative-driven games, exploring identity, morality, environmental ethics, and the philosophy of partnership. The game's impact and influence is clearly visible in the games that came after, from Kingdom Hearts and Xenogears to many modern narrative-heavy games that follow its example. The story of Final Fantasy VII is still relatable and continues to resonate with people, because the game asks timeless questions. Who are we? How do we face loss? And how do our choices and bonds shape our destiny? Sephiroth and Cloud's intertwined stories reminds us that trauma can either break us or help us grow. That ambition unchecked can lead to ruin, and that friendship, trust, and sacrifice are what allows us to endure in a world defined by loss. It is a story that stays with you, not because of what happens, but because of how it makes you feel and think while experiencing it.